but we're back at it with something new and something exciting. So I hope that First Friday will help be a great way to introduce us to Zoom, and that you will explore this for yourself as a way to do your work. And be sure to talk to some of the Master Gardener folks who have already started our first statewide Master Gardening training that has begun. They're using Zoom and doing it in multiple locations. And we're also evaluating that as we go. Have a special project going on to see how that distance technology works for us as we implement statewide training. So lots of exciting stuff going on. I had an opportunity to this morning to watch on my phone Michelle Crawford at our eXtension Innovation Conference. She's in Indianapolis, and she posted using Catch, which captures video. They have a session of all the innovators that are going on. I think there's 15 or 20 stands set up around a room with all kinds of new innovations that are going on in Extension. Everything from 3D printing, where they're making things in 3D and printing it, it's visually, it's there, it's tangible, to a 4-H camp that's being done by distance, and that they're never really there in person, but a 4-H camp that's being done. And Michelle has captured some of that, and in Directors Weekly today, I've posted her capture to my Facebook, and I will post that address, and you can go in 20 minutes, can learn about what's happening with innovation all across the country. So I think you can probably tell I'm pretty geeked about all this innovation, but it's a great opportunity for us to see what other people are doing and get excited about what things we can do. It's a great time to be in Extension and to do new and exciting things. And I know that we're doing a lot of cool new and exciting things, and over the next 4 months, our plan with our First Fridays, which will move back to the First Friday starting in October, is going to focus on some of our own staff and what you're doing, and the leadership team felt it was important that we would feel that we really know what some of our own staff are doing, and so we're going to feature that over the next 3 months with our First Friday and maybe into the new year as well. But we have with us this morning a special opportunity to have Dean Rigger with us, who has joined us for the first half of First Friday, and he sees this as an opportunity to connect with you all, and we see this as an opportunity for you to hear about what's going on in the college, in addition to the faculty meetings that we've been having. And so I'm going to, at this point, turn our conversation over to Mark Rigger, our dean, who is going to just bring a few words, but mostly just wants to have this time to connect with you and respond to questions and things that are on your mind, and as using this technology as a way to keep us all communicated. So let me turn over. I'm going to move both the microphone and the camera here. Watch as we slide all this by. And Mark, thanks for joining us this morning. And let me get you in the
Thank you, Michelle. So somebody,
yeah.
I don't know how Zoom works yet, but when I used to use Illuminate, show you how old I am, we used to be able to do a smiley face or a thumbs up on the screen if you could hear well and everything was going well communication-wise at your end of the node. So is there a way to do that, Alice, or can somebody at least chime in and say whether you can hear me and see me okay? All right, I'm sure that if you couldn't hear or see Michelle or something, you probably would have said something, but anyway. All right, well, it seems to be working. So thanks for the invite, Michelle. Very much appreciate it. It's good to be with you. And actually, I'd like to make this a regular thing. So if we could do this every couple of months, 2-3 times a year, I would appreciate. I hate to invite myself, but
you're invited.
Okay.
Feel invited.
All right. That settles
open.
it. That settles it.
You can do it every First Friday.
Okay. Well, I don't know if your crowd would agree, but anyway, I'll come a little bit more often. So I just have a few comments, and then any questions that you might have. I just want to give you my perspective as we start another cycle of academic life here in Newark. I know that some of you are actually winding down a field season, so you're probably feeling very different than what some of the other folks are around here. But anyway, we entered fiscal 16 in July in good shape. It was actually better than I thought, given what had happened during fiscal 15, which was a crazy roller coaster of a budget year. And I'm hoping that 2016 is going to settle down a little bit. It looks like it has, and we've done better than I thought. Enrollments remain high. Credit hour generation remains up. That's a big part of our budget. And importantly for extension, I think there's some people that are thinking about teaching. There's people that are contributing to teaching. And one thing that we've done internally with our budget allocations is we've found a way to have extension to be able to get some dollars returned to them. We have a thing called the teaching incentive, and actually it's a total of about $700,000 that gets divvied up among the units for the teaching contributions that they make to the college, and that is extension, or extension has the opportunity now to get some of that money, as they should. And I taught for the first time in a few years last spring, and I was teaching in a high tunnel. I was teaching sustainable and organic agriculture, and it just kind of brought home to me that really the expertise for that kind of thing is largely in the extension world. To teach those very basic field applied courses and students love those things. That's going to have to come, I think, largely from extension in the future. And I know Gordon's teaching a class on vegetable crops, and it's well enrolled, and so the kids are asking for it. And again, the expertise is really squarely in extension. We had a retreat in August. On August 12th, we all got together at the Donaldson Brown Center, and we talked about milestones from the master plan. The master plan, of course, is our strategic plan. It's darn near 2 years old, and so it was time to go back and look at it and say, hey, we set all these goals. How much progress have we made towards each of the goals? And I'm going to produce a milestones document in the coming weeks, and then we're going to vet that around the college, and we want to have your input in that. But I was pleasantly surprised. Each unit leader got up and gave their 5 or 10 minutes, and Michelle was there, of course, and we accomplished a lot. And importantly, extension accomplished its WIG, its wildly important goal, and that was the planning and reporting system. And honestly, that is going extremely well, and I think it creates a model for us for research, and now it's going to be hopefully linked to something university-wide called Faculty 180, which is a new reporting system that we're all going to have to play ball with at some point, and that's coming soon. Eric Womack is working on that. So basically, extension was 2 years ahead of a digitized, data-based reporting and impact system, and I'm just very pleased that you were able to do that, Michelle. Another thing that's going to come out in the next, I hope, day or two. I've got this on my do list, and I've got to get it off here for sure. The T.A. Baker Professorship. I'm very pleased to announce with Tom Sims' retirement, he's the current holder of the T.A. Baker Professorship. He'll retire in January, and therefore it will open up. And we've decided to make it a 5-year term professorship, so the next person to get it will have it for 5 years at least, maybe renew it for another 5, but it'll move around a little bit. And we thought long and hard about how do we award it? What are the criteria that you use to award a professorship? And I'm so pleased that we came up with impact. Came up with impact as the main criteria. Now, impact is in Delaware Will Shine as a stated explicit value, one of 5 stated explicit values of the university strategic plan. Impact is explicitly stated as one of the 8 values in the master plan. So now we have it as the chief criteria in the T.A. Baker Professorship. And what that means is that any tenure-track professor is eligible for that across the college, even if you have 80%, 90%, even 100% extension responsibilities. If you can demonstrate that you have impacted your field, your clientele, your stakeholders, whatever it may be, you're eligible, you're in the running for that. And so I really like that idea that we're starting to change the way we do business on a day-to-day basis to reflect the goals and the values that we state in our strategic plans. So look for that to come out, and nominations will be open for about a month after that comes out. And so I hope that you'll nominate people that you think are worthy of an endowed professorship for what impact they've had, not necessarily how many pubs or how many grants or whatever it is, but how they change the world. Did you have a question?
Mark, I think when we talked about that, so our extension faculty, our extension folks with an appointment, faculty appointment would
Yes.
be eligible for that.
Well, it has to be tenure track. The way endowed professorships work.
But our folks with an extension appointment that are tenure track would have an opportunity, and we have a couple of those that would have an opportunity. And I think we can encourage those folks to consider doing it. We know Extension has impact. It'd be an honor to have an endowed faculty position. And of course, this is competitive. But I think we're positioned well, and we should be encouraging to those faculty who have Extension appointments or doing great work to be considered for this. So
I think it's time that we make sure that somebody that's majority teaching, majority research, or majority extension has an equal shot at hitting that highest level of prestige at the university. I mean, that's just something that we needed to do probably years ago. So anyway, we're finally there. And then Michelle and I have been talking a lot about extension integration into departments, and while we're not ready to announce any kind of a formal way of doing that, certainly there's nothing stopping you from participating in the day-to-day business of what goes on in departments. A lot of you are doing it. A lot of you are actually attending those meetings, and I would encourage that. But we'll probably tackle that this year, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Is a more formal way of how do we completely engage everyone, agents, specialists, whatever, into the the ongoing activities of the department, so that there is that tripartite mission that's very, very well integrated. So I couldn't be more supportive of that effort, and that's a stated goal, right?
Yes,
from the master plan. So we're good. Anyway, so I blabbed enough. Had a lot of coffee this morning. Had breakfast with the dean, so it probably shows in my speech rate or something like that. I don't know. Always get your blood pressure up, even if you don't have coffee. You have breakfast with the deans, and your blood. Sorry. But anyway, so is there any other questions or comments that you would like to make? And we can actually test to see if we have two-way communication with this. In so doing, I've got to run at 9:30 to talk to someone else, but love to talk to you about whatever's on your mind.
So perhaps you have some questions that are raised by some of the things the dean said, and we can expound on that, or perhaps there's some things that you've been thinking about related to the college, or concerns that you have that you want to raise that to bring to his attention. He's really using this time as an opportunity to hear what's on your mind, and I am as well, because we do care about what things you're thinking about and what we can help with, and those things are on your mind. So we have two options, I think, in Zoom technology. You can type into the chat. Box, and we can see that there, which you're already comfortable with because we've done that. Or I think Alice will perhaps unmute. The right thing is unmute the mics, and people can just speak up, and the voice activation should go to those individuals. So I think that's the way this works. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, Alice.
I can unmute everyone. However, if you want to unmute just one mic at a time, since this is relatively new to all of us and we don't want to blow it up this early in the meeting, at the bottom left of your screen, as you move your cursor, your mouse down, there's a little pop-up bar, and on the left-hand side, you can unmute your mic and ask away.
Well, let's do it that way, since I don't want to blow up our first Zoom.
She's in control.
We'll do the chat pod, and we will. If you haven't had training on Zoom, as obviously I haven't yet, I'll try and get some dates that I can share with you in Directors Weekly about upcoming Zoom training, so you will feel more comfortable with it as well. But are there questions or comments that you'd all like to make this morning? Don't be shy. I know you're not a shy group. I don't think there's as much delay with the Zoom technology, so you should be able to see. I can't see as I could with the Adobe Connect if someone's typing, but wait a few seconds here. Hey, we'll take compliments too. If there's, questions, compliments. We'll take anything. Are you out there?
Yeah, boy. That'll be a first.
Here we go. Here's a question. Question from Cheryl Bush is, there's questions flying in now. We just have to be patient. So Mark, since you're away from the screen, I'll read the questions.
Even with these.
I'll read the questions and you can respond. Has response from the students and staff been positive regarding the Commons renovation? This is from Cheryl Bush.
Yes, it has actually. That's been a real bright spot. I was just in a conversation with someone yesterday who walked into the Commons and saw that every single seat was full in the Commons. So that is exactly what we were looking for. We had a Unidel grant. If you don't know what we're talking about, that open space in Townsend, we spent $300,000 that we got from a Unidel grant over the course of 2 years to change. We'll do a lot of things, put wireless into new carpet and furniture and things like that. And the students seem to love it. They do hang out in there. I actually walked through there at 7 o'clock in the morning the other day and saw a student. I couldn't believe it. At 7 o'clock in the morning, it was unbelievable. I had to rub my eyes, but they seem to like that. And then we have a food cart that is now cooking lunch just right outside the steps of the Commons, and there's a line out there of hungry kids eating. So that goes back to our strategic plan. Flexible, inviting, and functional spaces was what we said we needed to do. And that's probably the chief accomplishment in that on that goal. Thanks, Cheryl.
We have the FCS team is all together. They have a meeting this morning, but they're joining us first for First Friday, and then they have a group question. This is a great question.
Oh.
I'm not sure I know the answer. They would like to know, the FCS team would like to know, Dean Rieger, what's your wildly important goal?
Yeah, okay. I do. I better know what my wildly important goal is. Yeah, it's been Warlow Hall, actually. That is something, as I was going through even the interviews and some of the conversations I was having with people before I arrived in the summer of 2012, I was asking people, what are the 2 or 3 things that you think I need to tackle as soon as I get on board? And I kept hearing Warlow. And of course, once I got here and walked through the darn thing, I understood, what the issue was. It's a good and not a good wildly important goal. What you want to pick for a wildly important goal is something that you can actually leverage, something that you can actually move. There aren't a lot of external things beyond your control that might get in your way. And so that's why it's not so good, because there are so many things beyond my control with facilities, with the executive vice president, with everybody. But we have made progress on that. So we have an architectural study that's completed. We have some conversations coming up with Domenico and Scott Douglas, the 2 sort of chief officers on the academic and non-academic side of the house. And actually just this morning at the Dean's breakfast meeting, we were talking about a possible path forward for Warlow. So I think it is the one thing that really it's a mountain climb, but it's the one thing that we really need to ensure the future of all 3 things. Remember, there is extension being done in that building. It's not just research. It's not just the teaching that the kids do. Our soils lab, for example, is in there. And if we ever achieve our goal of having a larger diagnostic center that would have plant, soil diagnostics, insect, the whole gamut, nematodes, all that, that's probably where it would go. I don't know that it would go in Townsend or anywhere else. And so it would achieve all 3 functions, and it would really make a brighter day for us. So that is my goal. That's something I think about every single day. And we are making progress, although you have to understand that something that's 30, 40, $50 million is going to take a lot of time and a lot of discussions, and it's not completely under our control.
Thanks, Mark. And for those of you that are not familiar with Warlow, Warlow is the building where we have all of our key labs for programs, the hands-on part of our education that we're doing here academically. So if you weren't a UD student and didn't have that kind of experience, you may not know that, but it's a key building for us and a great opportunity to grow researchers and new faculty too by having some updated facilities that they can have for labs. So I'll just add that for extension, my wildly important goal was discussed by the leadership team at our meeting last week. I put out about 6 or 7 ideas and sought input. And because whatever my wildly important goal is becomes your wildly important goal, because I can't do it without you. And so we had discussion about that. and I've written my plan of work for the dean, and he hasn't received it yet, but it's drafted. And my wildly important goal will be around impact and how we're going to move our reporting system now, that was the goal last year, into the area of impact. And there's a couple of exciting opportunities coming up in this year, how we write those impact stories for different audiences, and how do we get them out there on our web presence, how do we get them to our legislators, and how do we turn what we've gotten now from our system into very usable data for lots of resources. And I hope to announce in the near future that there's an online training that's coming out nationally for Extension that will be around impacts that we're going to build into this wildly important goal. So I have to put some details behind that, but we did discuss the different things, and felt there was a lot of sense of importance around that from the leadership team, and so that will be the goal for me and ultimately for all of us in the coming year. So great question, and something for each of our teams. Thanks, FCS team, for asking that. I'd encourage each of our program teams to think about what is your wildly important goal for the team this year. And I think that's a worthwhile pursuit, and something we can discuss with program leaders.
Yeah, and just a quick add too. I'm dean and professor, right? And I'm kind of proud of being professor still. So my professor wig was to teach a course, and I actually made it through the course in the spring. So, you know, I'll tell you, it was tough.
It was a Friday afternoon course too.
I know, it was Wednesday and Friday afternoon, and but I had a blast, and I think the kids did too. And so I look forward to teaching that again in fall of 16 is when that will come up. So.
I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat box. Are there other questions, comments? I know the dean has to go here in a few minutes. We do have about 5 minutes yet of his time if there are any other questions. I'm not going to draw this out, but just check in with you all. It's always hard. This is the hard part about distance, is the interaction and not having people across the table nodding their head they're with us or not with us. And although I guess if we turned on all these the video monitors, we could see everyone and see if they're sleeping. I don't know how we do that.
Fire it up. Right.
Yeah, this is going to prompt us all to what our desk. I thought this morning what my desk looks like in terms of this. Unfortunately, you can narrow the camera, so you're really not seeing how bad it looks here. So, well, I want to thank Dean Rigger for being here this morning and being part of our first Friday, and the open communications that we have. And I want to just say publicly with all of you, our thanks for the support for Cooperative Extension. It's very real, and it's much appreciated. And we have really benefited from Dean Rigger's support for Extension in so many ways. And I know that some of that's very visible and some of that's not, but I speak for all of us with our thanks for that. So
yeah, sure. All right, well then we'll do this again. So hopefully maybe February, maybe at the latest or something. Try to get in 2 or 3 times a year. And so if you have any other questions, remember, when I'm in town here, I have an open door policy, and then I was just at Carvel on Tuesday, and I'm not there just to see Mark Isaacs or whatever. I can certainly take time to talk with other people. I really like to get out and look at the field plots and look at Tracy's garden and other things that are down there. So, I am driving up and down 1 all the time, and that's for you people in Kent County. It's very easy to jump off of 1 and pop into Paradise. So all I need is a little bit of an invitation, just a crack open door, and I'll pop in there and spend a little time, especially when the shed gets built. I want to see this thing. I want to see this thing get built. So anyway, I got to run, take a phone call. Thank you. And
all right,
thanks
thank you,
to everybody for
Mark.
all that you do for a college.
Thanks,
Okay.
Mark.
All right.
I'm going to scoot things back around here a little bit. And thanks for participating with that, and I'm thankful for Mark. I truly am thankful for Mark and his leadership. It has meant a great deal for us in Extension. We are operating differently than we have in the past with this dean, and it's been a learning for all of us, but it's been a good one. And so I know that you'll share that with the dean as you see him, and that he really is open to our questions and concerns and things that matter to us. So at this point, we want to have finally have an opportunity to bring a group that we've been working with and in conversation with. I'd like to introduce my colleague Dan Kugler and Paul Geringer. Dan and Paul are from University of Maryland. They are working with the Ag Law Institute there, and they are, it's a new program that Maryland has put in place. But they have been very interested in working with states nearby and in a multi-state way that we can work together. And so they're certainly close by, and the topic is one that's very relative to us and Delaware, and many of the things that happen in Maryland. As we know, flow over that state line doesn't mean anything when it comes to ag law issues, that they'll cross state lines as well, despite our different legislation. So thanks for being here this morning, Dan and Paul, and for making this work. And I'm going to turn it over to you for the rest of our first Friday, and for you to share with us information that will be helpful for us as well from University of Maryland. So Dan, take it away.
Great. Hey, thank you, Michelle, for arranging for us to join you on the first Friday on the second Friday. I think I got that right. We're going to go through about 4 steps to familiarize you with the Agricultural Law Education Initiative. I'm going to talk for just a couple of minutes, and then Paul Geringer is going to, who is one of the attorneys with the program here at College Park, is going to talk about some of the construct of the program. We have a short video from Ashley Newhall, who's one of the other attorneys here with College Park, who will talk some more about the program. And then Paul and I, mainly Paul, will entertain questions and hopefully answers at the very end. About 3 years ago, we had a situation here in Maryland that caused the General Assembly to provide some support to start up a law program to assist with farmers and assist with farm organizations with any questions and concerns that they had about law, legal structure, problems, etc. We put together a program that is in the arena of education and information. It is not an advocacy program. It is not an advice providing program. It is truly about education and learning about law. We were fortunate to get this started. It is a joint program between the University of Maryland at College Park and our College of Agriculture and Natural Resources with the Carey School of Law with the University of Maryland at Baltimore. For College Park, we put this whole program into the arena of extension. And by putting it in the arena and extension here in Maryland, extension here for College Park and for our partners in the 1890 system at the University of Maryland at Eastern Shore, it makes it a joint program between the two land grants here in Maryland and the School of Law at Baltimore. So it's a very nice partnership. The backbone of this, as I say, is an extension. We've been very fortunate to have the funding doubled in 2014 through a competitive program that's called Empowering the State. And we have what I would consider at this point in time to be a very robust program that is multimedia. It is multi-social media as well. We have an advisory panel that helps us to guide what we're doing, that has representatives from the Maryland Department of Agriculture, from the Maryland Department of the Environment, several farmers, the Farm Bureau, and a number of other farm organizations in the state. It involves 3 full-time attorneys and a part-time attorney through the 3 institutions. And we have now an agricultural law section that's been formed as a part of the Maryland State Bar Association that is on board with the whole program as well. With that's sort of a general background of where we are. We think that University of Delaware and Extension and the University of Delaware in particular would be an excellent partner in moving the whole law platform for agriculture and natural resources forward. So we thought it'd be a good idea to join you on your first Friday, on your second Friday. And I'm going to turn it over to Paul Geringer, and he will speak a little bit and then conduct the rest of the program. Paul?
So we have to do the same thing. We have to move the laptop and everything around so everybody. So good morning, everybody. I'm Paul Geringer. I'm the Extension Legal Specialist here at University of Maryland, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what we have going on. And let me see if I can share my screen, if I can remember how to do this from yesterday. So I'm just going to kind of walk you through some of the resources we have available, and then with the remaining time, Ashley Newhall put together a video introducing herself as well to you guys. And I realized this morning I did not put together anything with contact information for me, but we can show you where that for me, Ashley, and then Sarah Everhart, who also works on the program, who's with the Carey School of Law, her contact info is as well. But this is our main website. This is the main website for the project. It's umaglaw.org. I hope it's showing up on your screen. On it, we have a calendar of events, which, as I looked at last night, is out of date. We have some issues with it picking up the calendar of events from the University of Maryland extension page, so sometimes we have to go in and manually get the law school to take stuff off, so I need to do that today. It's on my list to get done. But other things up here, we have publications library. That's not the most user-friendly thing in the world, but anyone who works with a university knows sometimes you do not get the best website material content to be able to develop what you need. We're working on trying to redo it. But we have things such as legal risk management considerations, seed saving liability fact sheets, business organizations, stuff on leasing, estate planning and farm transitions. I'm not going to go through everything on the thing. And we have a needs assessment that we did. Dan's pointing that out. When we got started, we didn't know what the needs were in the state, so we did try to do a needs assessment of everything in the state. The other highlights I will point out are, we do have videos up there, and I'm going to scroll down because I get to see my face, and I don't want to see my face this morning. You're having to see that enough. So we have videos. Sarah and I have done some videos. I think Ashley has got some videos up here as well recently. So we have, on most of the topics we have fact sheets on, we've tried to put together videos on them, either using Queen Anne's County Television on the Eastern Shore to help us put them together, or we've used Camtasia here recently to put a lot of the videos together that we've been doing. Since I forgot the contact info for me, I'll show you that, contact us. It brings up our emails. So there's mine, Ashley's, Sarah Everhart. Sarah's currently on maternity leave, so if you email her, you're probably going to have to deal with me since I'm handling most of the stuff right now that she gets, and Ashley is as well. Now I have to figure out how to get around. The other website we have is in joint with our crop insurance outreach education program that's also here at the University of Maryland, and we do a ag risk management blog where we do legal issues, farm policy issues. It's a little easier to use because it's hosted on the University of Maryland's website, but it's not, the content management is not through the University of Maryland. So we have the ability to search it either through content tags, authors. The other thing here is if you have a topic, I'll type in land values because I know something will pop up that involves Delaware with that. But you can type in the search bar there. We have done some stuff that has involved Delaware at times when we can. And then I will click out of that. You can subscribe to it here by putting your email in. I always have to point out to people it's a 3-step process. You have to put your email in. You have to type a number in to prove you're a real person. And then you get an email that probably goes to your spam box that you also have to click on to prove you're a real person. So there is a 3-step process involved in all of that to do it. But we have a lot of stuff up here. Try to do different topics between legal, farm policy, other crop insurance information. It's updated at least weekly right now. Ashley will explain in her video why for a while it's just going to be me running the site. So we are trying to get other stuff up. And the other thing I'm going to highlight is we did start over the summer. One of the top issues that came out of the needs assessment was estate planning. So we have developed a farm transition page with the Department of Ag and Resource Economics, where Ashley and I are located, and through the initiative where we're trying to put together more information. And the reason I highlight that is I know Ashley and I are working with some of you from Delaware to do some estate planning workshops later on this year and some next year as well. So there are some resources there available as well. And with that said, I'm going to stop sharing this, and I'm going to try to share Ashley's video now. And hopefully this will work.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ashley Newhall, and I am unable to make it to the meeting today because today is actually my wedding day, and I'm pretty sure my fiance would be quite upset if I missed this very important day. With that said, today's presentation I have entitled The Most Awkward Presentation Ever, because who doesn't love talking about themselves? My alternate title was going to be All About Me, but I thought maybe that sounded more like a first grader. But either way, I will be talking to you today about my background, what I've done in Maryland since being an extension legal specialist for University of Maryland, and what I believe I can offer to University of Delaware and Delaware's agricultural community. I was born and raised on a dairy in Arizona. My family still currently dairies in Arizona. I did my undergrad at Arizona State University, and I got my Bachelor's of Science in Finance. From there, I went to Texas Tech University School of Law, where I got my Juris Doctorate. And from there, I ended up going to University of Arkansas School of Law, where I got my Master's of Law in Food and Agricultural Law, which kind of led me to the path I am today. I'm actually licensed to practice law in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. And with that said, moving on, what have I done for University of Maryland since being there for a little over a year? So the fact sheets that I published, I went ahead and did a little overview, legal implications of utilizing unmanned air vehicles in agriculture. So that's basically a publication on drones that I co-wrote with Paul Goringer and John Moyle. Another fact sheet that I published with Paul Goringer is using a business organization structure can potentially limit your farm's liability. And that kind of goes over all the business structures and their pros and cons. I also worked on the Food Safety Modernization Act, what Maryland producers and processors need to know, with a coworker, Sarah Everhart. And we also worked on water law in Maryland, water appropriation permit overview. And what this went over is what an agriculture producer needs to do to apply for a water appropriation permit, and what their rights are when it comes to terms of drought in the state, and what their rights are to that water appropriation. Something else that I worked on that's been extremely popular, I actually came across this idea when I attended a beginning farmers meeting, and one of the farmers came up to me afterward and asked what they could do to help limit liability when people come onto their farm to either pick vegetables or to view their farm, because they did have quite a few visitors and they weren't necessarily an agritourism operation. So from there, I went ahead and talked to a few different individuals, and we decided that maybe a sample liability waiver would be a good idea for these producers. So I worked with Kathleen Tabor. She is an attorney in Maryland, and between her and I, we went ahead and wrote up this sample liability waiver, and to date it has approximately 400 downloads. So I'm pretty proud of that. I think it's been a pretty good sample that we put out there, and something that's been very useful. We've gotten some good feedback. And as far as presentations go, this is just a little overview of what I've done. Protecting your operation, hiring practices. This I went ahead and did at some poultry meetings in the Lower Shore, and went over good policies and practices to implement when hiring people onto your farm, and to help protect yourself from anyone that's dishonest. Something else I talked about was big data, legal issues in agriculture. Went over the legal implications of what big data is, even though no one really knows what the legal implications are. I kind of went over what farmers should be looking for in their contracts. Farm transition tools, what you need to transition your farm from one generation to the next to make sure that the farm stays as a business entity. The Food Safety Modernization Act, the Produce and Prevention Rule, kind of went over what this is supposed to be. It's actually, the Food Safety Modernization Act isn't completely implemented yet, or the final regs have not come out. So this went over what producers can expect. Estate planning, risk management, again, this kind of went over wills, trusts, and the risk management part was also the liability waiver and what business entities an operator could have when trying to protect themselves from their personal assets from being attacked if their farm was to be attacked, and so on. Also, something else I've talked about is premise liability, and that kind of, again, goes along with the liability waiver, and what kind of protections are offered in the laws already in existence that could protect someone from either trespassers and the like. This slide goes ahead and goes over the Maryland Risk Management Education blog. This is actually a partnership between the Ag Law Education Initiative, which I'm a part of, and Crop Insurance. And this blog basically posts, we do about 3 to 4 blog posts a week, and then on Fridays, a weekly news overview, what's been going on in the nation, and possibly also local news that have happened that particular week. Personally, I have written approximately 45 articles, as best I can tell, and co-authored about 6 with Paul and Sarah as well. And the link at the bottom of this slide can take you to everything I posted. And it goes everything from the current Maryland medical WANA regulations that are about to be passed or implemented, and then all the way to, you know, what's raw milk, what are the laws that other states have as concerning raw milk, and what are the issues with that, as well as things along the lines of what the family farm laws are in Maryland. So a little bit of everything across the board. And it's stuff that we either get questions on or items that are of interest of us that are like more current event type issues. So the issues that I would address in Delaware, I definitely think that estate planning and farm transition are of the utmost importance to farmers. And across the nation, not just states in particular, many farmers are not utilizing estate plans. And it's very important that they do if they want to keep the family farm in the family. I would also talk about land leasing, always something of utmost importance as well, what a lease should look like, and what happens in the instance if someone stops paying rent, et cetera, et cetera. Agritourism and landowner liability, always questions that we get, especially with the agritourism operations. In Maryland and Delaware, you have your pumpkin picking, your fruit picking. Those questions do come up a lot. CAFO regulations and water law issues. We have the Chesapeake Bay nearby. Similar issues are faced in Maryland that I would also guess are being faced by farmers in Delaware. So those are the items that I think would be of the utmost importance and should be addressed in Delaware that I would be happy to go ahead and address with the farmers. Well, thank you for listening to my All About Me, the most awkward presentation ever. I wish I could be there to talk to y'all in person. If you have any questions for me, my phone number is 301-458-5125, and my email address, anewhall@umd.edu. And I hope y'all have a wonderful day. And next time I talk to you, I will be a married woman. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.
Stop sharing. Okay. So yeah, Ashley cannot be here today because apparently it was mean of me to try to make her do a presentation today during her wedding day. But the reason we also highlight Ashley in this is she lives in Philadelphia and works remotely for us, so she's a lot closer to Delaware than I am. So the thought was she may be more able to get over there a little faster and help you guys than I can.
Is it still functioning?
Oh, somebody was pointing out, I guess, earlier that there was a shared screen being shared. Are there any questions for us? Have I put everyone to sleep?
And I can.
So at this point, Paul and Dan, I think you're saying that we're time for questions and answers, and I'll start off until we have others that come up in the chat pod and so forth. So I'm real interested in what you said. I think is very practical kinds of things that we are doing. I'm delighted to hear that you're coming to be a part of our succession planning. I knew that that was going on, and Laura Walensky and Maria Papitas, I think, have been involved with you or involved in some of the planning of those. I know Laura's not on, but I also wonder, is there potential for us to link to your risk management blog and to have that link on our website? Is there any concerns or issues with that? Do we have potential to share that information further by linking that on our website to that blog, and any permissions we need to get to do that?
None that I'm aware of. So if you want to link to it, please feel free to. We had to put a reposting policy up there mainly because the horse industry in lobby group in Maryland was reposting articles and not giving the author credit for them. So I had to put that up, and it took a couple of weeks to get them to give us credit, because it was kind of weird that stuff we had written would show up and no author would be attributed to it or where it came from. But people relinking to it, we're glad when people do it. We like getting the information out there.
Sure. Well, it seems like we had the opportunity to maybe make links to several of your things, and obviously when the link, we're directing them back to your website ultimately from ours, but can be a way to bring your information from directly to folks and make those connections. So I think that's something we should look into, and we need to talk about perhaps with our ag team and where we want to make some linkages with information that you have that we can just start sharing.
That would be good.
Would be kind of an immediate response I have to that, and delighted to know that some of you are going to be part of some of the programming we're doing this winter in the area of transition and succession planning. So that's great to hear as well. I go to the chat, and can you see the chat, Paul?
Yes.
So comment there from Tracy Wooten, who's in Sussex County. She's excited to have this resource and partnership. And so thanks, Tracy, for that. And we see the opportunity to have that be part of that. Are there other questions or comments for this group? And
let me just add, this is Kugo. I just want to add, the blog is very, very interesting. It's short responses to very specific issues, and I have to say, from being an administrator in agriculture, I read every single one of them that comes out through the week. You learn a lot very fast, and if you have additional questions or want to learn more about it, then you can go right back to the authors and say, hey, can you help me out to understand some specific aspect of the blog article that's been put out? So I think it's just a marvelous instrument. I think, Paul, the number of hits on the blog is what? 15,000 maybe?
No, I do not remember.
We're going to say somewhere between 10 and 15,000 hits on the blog sites since it started up. How long? Earlier this year, right?
No, May of last year.
May of last year. So it's very popular.
great. That's great, and a great resource for us as folks involved in that and can make that connection. How about the fact sheets as well? I assume we'd be some of the things that Ashley spoke about, and we really do understand. I knew when we moved this from First Friday to Second Friday, we were hitting Ashley's wedding. We knew that from the get-go. Thanks for, would you please share our thanks to her.
I will.
Willingness to share with us and put that video together so that she can be a part of this. So please say thanks to her. I know that was, we knew we were hitting smack on this and wanted to include her, so thank her for that additional effort. But some of the things that she mentioned, obviously, that she's producing, and folks can contact her directly or if they'd like, in terms of assistance at programs. So one of the options we have is to invite you as presenters at some of our programs and to link up with that as well. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
And I will warn you that she is out for after this week. She's out for the next 2 weeks for her honeymoon. So Sarah's out on maternity leave. Ashley's out on her honeymoon, and I am pretty much it for the next couple of weeks.
You are it, but I'm sure you'll make them pay that back.
Yes, I told them that sometime next year I'm taking off for like 3 weeks, and I don't want to be bothered for the 3 weeks I'm gone.
Yeah, well, that goes around. So can we discuss openly, is if you're coming to programs, are we to cover costs of your participation? Is there additional costs that we're doing with this? Have we made any decisions about that? Dan, you're the administrator, so what's
Yeah.
I'm turning the camera to the administrator. I don't have any say in that.
There's always some additional cost, but that's something you and I can work through at some point in time. We honestly haven't even thought about that at this point in time. It's just that, Delaware and, all of what we do in the Delmarva Peninsula it's just locked together, and it doesn't make sense to say, oh, this is a border between the state of Maryland and the state of Delaware or Virginia. And frankly, the ambition, you talked about wild ambitions with the dean. Our wild ambition is to become the go-to agriculture, natural resource, environmental law group for the Eastern Seaboard. So it's very ambitious. We have terrific support at the highest levels of College Park. The president of the university, the provost, the vice presidents are all aware of this program, are fully supportive of it. The General Assembly is very supportive of it, both in the Senate and the House of Delegates. And it just seems like the logical thing to do is to come to you all in Delaware and say, let's make this work in a more formal way and in a larger way between the two states. And we're working on similar kinds of relationships with Pennsylvania, to some extent with Virginia as well. We're going to grow this thing, and we want you all to be a partner with us.
Well, thanks, Dan, and thanks for that that attitude and that because I do think we all feel that we are part of that Delmarva piece and do work together, and we will work with you as we need to, because I know you have, in some ways, we need to make this work for everyone because it's a win-win for all of us. So we'll work with you as we need to do that. So I think the message then today for all of us involved from Delaware is that this is a resource that's available to us, a great opportunity for us to augment our programming with this kind of information that we don't have here in Delaware, but that can very much speak to our issues in Delaware. And please feel free to be in touch. We had sent to the offices probably 6 months ago when we were beginning to have this conversation, the brochure that we had on the Ag Law program. So we sent those out to your offices. I assume that you've used those and they're out there or they're on your calendars. I don't know if you could indicate an ag chat. Would that be helpful for some of you to have more of those to share with constituents, maybe to take the information, put it in our newsletter to make people aware of what's available? Or is there other ways here in Delaware you'd like to have in terms of contact or getting in touch with folks? Are there needs you have from our county staff and our specialists in terms of getting in touch with this group? Let's hear from you now so we can share that. I assume the easiest way is just to go to your website, go to the University of Maryland website and look for Ag Law, and you should come up, and all the contact information is there. So
Yes.
Right, and periodically, Michelle, we can send you some things that would be good to be just sent out to your system. I mean, for example, we have recently done a one-page, the 10 most important accomplishments of FY15. And it's a very simple thing just to send around so that folks have it and can say, oh, you're working on those kinds of things. And it's a very, very broad representation of what all of these the attorneys are doing, and as they work again with private industry, they work with other universities, they work with the state government and federal government. So it's a nice resource and an easy read.
Okay, great. Well, I thank you, all of you from University of Maryland, for being part of our second First Friday. We don't do this way too often. Labor Day just kind of hit at a weird time this year and impacted that, and we knew that we had a lot of folks that were taking that Labor Day weekend piece. So thank you both, Paul and Dan, for being here. Thank you for your willingness to share these excellent resources on topics that are very real and relevant for us here in Delaware. I'm not seeing any further questions, but folks, you know where to make contact Dan and Paul and Ashley and others, and I hope you will. And I hope you'll remember this resource as we move forward. And Dan, I think it'd be great to have that be copied on that, those 10 most topics that you've gone on. I can post that in my Director's Weekly, which goes out most weeks on Friday morning, and just keep folks up to date with what's coming there, just to keep it in front of folks, and I'd be happy to do that as well.
Excellent. I'll send it to you this afternoon.
Okay, great. All right, well, thank you, everyone. Thanks, especially our Maryland colleagues. Thanks for being a part of our opportunity to do programming together, and for joining us on this second Friday, and the first Zoom technology. This worked really well.
It does work well.
It does.
And I'll note with this technology, we don't have the delay that we had with Adobe Connect.
Yeah.
It's not as we're not stepping on each other's toes as much in terms of interacting, so that's great. So glad to see that. Well, thank you, everyone. We'll sign off for our first Zoom first Friday, and have a great weekend and work week that follows. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, everyone.